Joining me now is CNN counterterrorism analyst and former FBI senior intelligence advisor Phil Mudd. Phil, great to see you. Thanks very much for being with us. You know, there are real consequences when people like that Florida state representative go out there and trash the integrity of the FBI. I know you said the other day that you received one of the most malicious threats that you've ever read, all because of your commentary about this search. And we've seen time and again examples over the last several days of just this alarming, level of threats and heightened rhetoric in response to that search at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things you need to think about. The first would be threats to American citizens who happen to be FBI employees. If you look at what happened in Cincinnati, and you've seen reports today of armed individuals outside the office in Phoenix, this is a numbers game, Jim. If politicians start to encourage people to commit acts of violence against the FBI, even if you say defund the FBI, there's a violent fringe that will say, I want to take action. There might be 1/100th of 1% of the fringe who say that means I should commit an act of violence. Man, the FBI is an open organization. I served at both the CIA and the FBI. The CIA was closed, the FBI is open. Those offices are public facilities. Those offices interact with the public. If 1/100th of 1% of the population says, I need to commit an act of violence, those people, the FBI employees, are under threat. Let me close with one other issue on defunding. If you think that state and local police can follow the Iranians, follow the Chinese, follow the Russians, follow one of the most horrific things in America, that is cyber pornography against infants. If you think they can follow white-collar crime, if you think they can follow mortgage fraud, that is not a state and local problem. You may object to what happened in Mar-a-Lago, but if you say defund the FBI, let your kid be abused by an adult. That's what the FBI does. Good luck, Jim.
Yeah. No, it doesn't add up. It's not a realistic proposal. And it seems to be made when Donald Trump gets himself into hot water. That's when they want to go after federal law enforcement. And speaking of which, we know that the unredacted search warrant was leaked, meaning the names of these agents who are involved are out there. What are you hearing from your former colleagues that, when they conduct a search like this, this gets leaked and the agents' names and so on, it gets doxed?
So let me step you through what happens. You've got to go home to your spouse or your girlfriend and your children, and you tell them my name is leaked and people who might want to commit an act of violence might come to our home. You've got to go to your workplace and say, should we stay at home? And our kids are going back to school. It's August. Kids are going back to school. What do I do? Will you provide me with security? Will the government provide security? How long will they provide it for? It's not just about people who want to commit an act of violence against an FBI agent. I would ask them to consider, do you want to walk home to your family and your spouse and say, look over your shoulder when you go to the grocery store and ensure that you don't answer the door? It's that simple, Jim. It's that simple.
Yeah, and the motive here is intimidation. They want to intimidate people in law enforcement because of the nature of the work that they're doing. And it's not just the threats to the FBI. There's been an uptick in violent rhetoric online since the search, including phrases like lock and load. Another said Attorney General Merrick Garland, quote, needs to be assassinated, simple as that. Another said kill all feds. A lot of this, Phil, reminds me of the overheated rhetoric, the incendiary rhetoric that we saw in the run-up to January 6th. How worried are you that we might see another spasm of right-wing domestic terrorism in this country like we saw on January 6th?
I mean, I'm looking at this today and I'm surprised. This is the first time I've gotten this question. I'm surprised this question isn't coming up more often for a simple reason. When I followed extremists overseas, I never anticipated we would see this in America. We are. Extremists overseas in some ways have similarities to what we see in this instance. That is, they require leadership to tell them that what they're thinking is okay. And they require validation from that leadership to suggest to them that violence is okay. We saw that before January 6th. If you look at the rally, right now we're seeing that the former president of the United States sends a note, evidently according to news reports, to the Attorney General before early this week saying, The country's in trouble. Is there anything I can do to help? After the raid, the former president of the United States, President Trump, said this is a fraud. This is a hoax. Some of that stuff might have been planted. The same thing that happened before January 6th is happening today. And I'm going to tell you, as we saw in Phoenix in the past 24 hours outside the FBI office, people with AR-15s and camo are going to say, I'm going to do something about it. That's dangerous. I think we're going to see another catastrophic event. I'm not sure, but I think so.
And it's all because Trump can't handle the scrutiny. He can't handle being the subject of an investigation, and he lashes out by declaring an enemy, whether it's the press or people in law enforcement and so on. And it just seems to be a recurring pattern, and here we are again.
It is. I mean, you could look at this one way if you're a standard president. Most of the presidents I dealt with, or my friends dealt with, they would go down and brief a president. Most presidents would say, I don't want anything top secret, or confidential in my house. That's a problem. This president says it's okay. He could have said, I'm sorry, get it out of here. I'm sure the FBI would have said, we don't want any problems here. We'll remove the boxes and secure them. If you'd like to see this information in the future, we can return it to you. I suspect that the explanation for what happened here is more nefarious. You could have a simple explanation that says the president doesn't care what's on the compound at Mar-a-Lago. You could have a more complex explanation that says this is good for the president. He's going to say the deep state is coming after me. This is another example that I'm a victim, and he's going to play this going into another election campaign. National security, Jim, used to stop the American shoreline. It no longer does. It's part of American electoral campaigns. That's what you're seeing here.
And the question has to be, I mean, he's offered up excuse after excuse after excuse as to why they're there, but he has not explained, his people have not explained, why does he have that stuff at Mar-a-Lago? Why did he have that stuff at Mar-a-Lago? We don't have an answer to that. And until we have an answer to that, we're not going to know the full story. Phil Mudd, thanks as always. We appreciate it.